Hello there, lovely people. It's Alex from Nintendo Life here, and today, today is finally time to talk about this sucker. Yes, it's time to review Super Mario Odyssey. It's been so hard waiting. But as usual, no waffling, let's dive right into things. For many people, a sandbox Mario game is a purely retro kind of thing. Super Mario 64 played a huge role in revolutionizing 3D gaming, and Sunshine took it in a new direction on the GameCube. The Wii, however, was a very different system, and as such, Nintendo quite literally flipped Mario on his head. Galaxy and its sequel featured tightly structured levels, which for many purposes was closer to the original 2D games than 64 and Sunshine. But make no mistake, Odyssey owes its heritage to Super Mario 64 above all other titles, a link that Cappy wears like a big shiny badge of honor. And speaking of Cappy, he's not only Mario's sidekick, but basically the star of the entire show. Without him, our rotund plumbing pal has few abilities, being plunged into worlds where power-ups apparently don't exist. He also brings in the capture feature, which allows the player to control other creatures and objects, granting more freedom and variety than we've ever seen before in a Mario title. It's all ruddy impressive. But let's hold our proverbial horses for but a moment. The whole thing starts off with an impressive cutscene showing our stalwart hero facing off against Bowser, and in an unusual instance, he's actually very much on the back foot. Tossed aside like some used tissue, he lands in the land of Bonneton, a land where the land is populated by hack creatures who have no direct contact to the land. Cappy's there, obviously, and is bloody annoyed that his sister Tiara is being used by Bowser as Peach's tiara. The whole place is left in an absolute mess thanks to, of course, the Koopa King, and so it's up to our chums to head off in search of their respective counterparts. It's bonkers, obviously, but by no means is that a bad thing. Right from the start, it's made very clear that this is a game where sanity and conventional wisdom have never even visited, and I love it. The first couple of hours are somewhat linear, nudging you towards various tasks to slowly and organically teach you the mechanics and nuances that you'll need to get some serious collectathon excitement. For those that are more suited to the more linear games in Mario's history, this is important, but if you're a veteran, you shouldn't worry, as the training wheels do come off pretty swiftly, and before you know it, you'll be long jumping, triple jumping, and wall jumping like a thing possessed by a hat. But it's throwing Cappy that is the key to pretty much everything here. He defeats enemies, captures enemies, solves puzzles, and even acts as a springboard for the titular Italian. Some of the more complex throws beyond just whacking Y or X are actually controlled through simple flicks in what many know as motion controls. Thankfully, they're never really necessary, but extremely useful nonetheless if you can get over having to move even a little bit to perform them. And if you're more of a pro controller aficionado, don't worry your little head about it, as they all work just as well with this. Nice. And you know what? These motion controls show that at its core, this is definitely a game that's best enjoyed on a TV. They do technically work in handheld mode, and we've certainly had fun with the game on the go, but it's really not ideal to be shaking the controller all over the place. It's a game with big old worlds that yearn to be spread out over a big old screen. But anyway, once you've got to grips with Cappy, you're off on the good ship Odyssey across over a dozen new lands. There's a bit of linear plot to follow at first, all tied with just how far the Odyssey can reach. And as you reach new kingdoms, the priorities are twofold. Number one, finding as many power moons as you can eat, and number two, kicking the local bosses in the arse as hard as possible. It's very, very cleverly done, as there is naturally a wealth of moons you can grab, but you're not required to do so, giving the players the option of moving on or being obsessive about getting just every single last one of them before they move on to pastures new. You'll also be on the hunt for the good old reliable gold coins and the weirdly more valuable purple coins that are that region's local currency. In a weird sense, the box standard gold coins also act as your live system, causing you to lose 10 every time you plunge into an abyss or lose all of your health. It's odd to do away completely with the old-fashioned one-up system, but in a game focused so heavily on exploration, it makes a lot of sense. But that's not all they're for, thankfully. Nearly every kingdom also has two branches of the Crazy Cap store. A broad selection of gubbins is available for purchase with the gold coins, and region-specific outfits and souvenirs can be purchased with the purple coins. coins. Finding each kingdom's fixed number of purple coins is a nice subquest in and of itself, especially for those looking for a little something different to do after grabbing just so many power moons. In the first half of the game, die-hard Mario fans may not feel totally like they're being all that stretched. The return to this open world collecting formula is a bit of a gamble, as you don't get the same feeling of accomplishment from smaller tasks as you do from completing a fully structured level. Yet the freedom to run around and play as much as you like becomes utterly intoxicating as soon as you realize just how much Mario and Cappy can do. And more importantly, after the first 5 zones for us at least, it felt like the game received a big boost, progressing from being an excellent Mario experience to an exceptional one. The capturing, the challenges, the visuals, it all continues to up the ante. We even found ourselves grabbing far more moons than was required to move on, simply because the area drew us right in and we just weren't ready to leave. It was that just one more moon kind of feeling that of course ballooned into 8, 9 and even 10 more. One surprise encounter towards the end of the game, not pictured for obvious reasons, also felt incredibly random, and that sense of not knowing what's next is the best thing about this experience. The later kingdoms are the apex of the game for us, and by the time you reach the initial ending, you're greeted by one of the best final boss encounters Nintendo has ever created. Again, not pictured. Once the credits roll, though, Nintendo has found a very clever way to keep your gaming thumbs very happy indeed. The post-game opens up a few brand new areas, new challenge stages in existing kingdoms, and a bumload more moons to nab. We were left more than happy to go chasing after the real ending, and if you're a proper Gerard-style completionist, you can keep going after that and all. There is also co-op available in the game, strangely, allowing one player to control Cappy and the other, unsurprisingly, Mario. It's a clever addition, and it certainly has its own merits, but it's not out of this world. Let me put it this way, it's not going to set the world on fire, but it's better than playing as Tails. There's also an assist mode which can be turned on or off at any time, and it does a few things to help you out should you want it. Mario gets a bigger life bar, he doesn't drop coins if he quote-unquote dies, and should you fall off the edge it plops you back near where you fell rather than the last checkpoint you reached. It also bungs some arrows on the ground for you to follow, guiding you to your next objective if you're seriously lost. It's a nice addition for those less confident about their Mario expertise, but seeing as it's totally optional, it didn't interfere with my, hardcore playthrough. Amiibo also make an appearance in case you're interested. Slapping one of these puppies down can help you find moons, or give you a little boost if you find yourself in a sticky situation. You can also unlock special costumes with certain Amiibo, but these can also be purchased without Amiibo in the Crazy Cap store for a reasonably ludicrous amount. Oh, and whilst I've got your attention, the visuals. Seriously, this game is just ruddy gorgeous, and it runs like a dream as well. Clocking in at a maximum 1080p and hitting 60 frames per second 99% of the time, it is definitely best experienced on the TV, as I've said before. Portable still looks good, but there are more sawtooth edges than the like visible. It's still a looker and holds up beautifully in terms of performance, but as I said earlier on, the TV really makes it all the better. In conclusion, Super Mario Odyssey represents a sort of a backward shift for Nintendo in terms of the Mario franchise, but definitely not in a bad way. It's a return to the roots of 3D Mario, but it's also very much a game of its own time rather than remaining bogged down in the past as it could so easily have done. Cappy freshens up the formula tenfold, the diverse and original lands you can explore are a sheer joy to jaunt through, and even beyond the grandeur, there are countless little details that really help to make this something beyond special. That's why we are proud to give Super Mario Odyssey on the Nintendo Switch a 10 out of 10. No doubt people will start to argue now over what is the best Mario game with this as a genuine contender. It'll no doubt draw in an entirely new audience to this style of Mario game and doesn't present any barriers for newcomers to enjoy it to the full. And for the veterans among us, it's yet another special release to remind us of why Mario is still gaming's #1. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, then why don't you meet all of the expectations and so many more of that subscribe button, and be sure to check out nintendolife.com for all sorts of lovely Nintendo related content. Thank you again for watching. Bye bye.